Baal.
Baal! The gates of Sescheron have stood for eons beyond remembrance, and you shall not breach them now. Remove your foul demons from our lands. We stand on the side of light, and you shall not be allowed to reach Mount ARREAT. And that which you seek will not be yours.
Enough! Enough!
I shall take your position into consideration. Well, it seems your terms are not acceptable.
Our story continues after defeating Diablo at the behest of Tyrael and giving Baal chase by entering through the portal to HARROGATH, the last stronghold held by the barbarian defenders against Baal's siege to eradicate all opposition and corrupt the fabled Worldstone. Upon arrival in the distant land, we see Deckard Cain, the scholar, loitering about a well, which seems to be his lot in life. And upon our arrival, he says,
I am amazed to find this place so untouched. Everything else in the path of Baal, the Lord of Destruction, lies in ruin. These barbarians must indeed be the legendary guardians of Mount ARREAT. They're a proud, hardy people. Don't expect to be greeted warmly. Strangers here rarely are. Perhaps I can gain their trust. I'll spend some time with the townsfolk and try to understand them better. I'll let you know what I discover.
We agree with Cain. It's best he tries to befriend the barbarians and hopefully gain their trust. And we too set off to find word of Baal's next move, when we're beckoned by the blacksmith, Larzuk, who says,
I am Larzuk, the armorer. My ancestors were some of the finest craftsmen in HARROGATH. Regretfully, my supplies run lower with every passing day, yet the demons beyond the walls have not weakened. I fear the time is near when I must put down my hammer and take up a sword instead. If you're here to defeat Baal, you must prove it. As we speak, HARROGATH is under siege by Baal's demons. Catapults rain death just outside the town walls. Baal himself travels up the sacred mountain, having left in charge here one of his most vicious generals, Shank, the Overseer. A ruthless taskmaster, he lashes his own minions into suicidal frenzies on the battlefield. If you wish to prove yourself to us, destroy the monster Shank that commands those infernal catapults outside HARROGATH. If you manage to do this, return to me.
What a foul creature Baal has left to bombard HARROGATH's walls. This Shank Stripping flesh from his own ilk and driving them into suicidal frenzies is a more horrific thought than we can imagine. No wonder the atmosphere is so bleak here. Before we speak to the other of Larzak's barbarian brethren for more clues on this infamous and hideous shank, Larzak is seeing us mull over our quest and hesitantly reminds us of one ominous oversight once more.
Did I mention there were catapults?
As Larzak meanders back to his forge, we remember the saying, "There's no rest for the wicked," and can't help but wonder who we upset in a past life. As we seek out the scattered camp inhabitants, we come across a necromancer of all things, milling about a campfire, who says,
Well, well, the siege has everything in short supply, except fools. Why would you seek this place, stranger? Are you a vulture come to loot the bodies of our fallen warriors? Regardless, this is no place to make a name for yourself. The mountain is ours to protect. It is only a matter of time before Hell's legions are routed. After so many have died, who are you to think you can accomplish what our proud warriors could not?
Nilathark seems quite confident that even at their clear disadvantage, the barbarians are in a position to defeat Baal. It's too early to gauge if he's correct, but hope whatever ace he seems to be holding up his sleeve indeed is enough to defeat a prime evil. It's then we see, still by his familiar well, Cain, who imparts,
I believe that stopping the siege on HARROGATH is the only way for you to earn the trust of these people.
It's true, no doubt barbarians respect action above honeyed words. And speaking of honey, close by we see a huge barbarian in golden armor. This must be the man-at-arms Qualkek, who greets,
A paladin. I have long heard of your people. As a young warrior, I even considered the pilgrimage to Kurast. But I was younger then and foolish. My place has always been here, protecting HARROGATH and Mount ARREAT with it. I am Qualkek, the senior man-at-arms of HARROGATH. You have the look of a warrior. An extra soldier will be useful, but don't expect anyone to mourn if you get yourself killed. Baal is true to his namesake. He has ravaged through our lands like a merciless plague. The protective ward laid down by our lost elders helps hold the evil at bay. But Baal's siege has taken its toll all the same. Most of my men are now dead. Others are trapped in the mountain passes. But I swear we are not beaten yet. We will fight to the end to protect this mountain.
With that encouragement of an early coffin when facing Shank, we then search for the elderly healer Mala atop the steps of the keep, as she says,
I, Mala, welcome you to HARROGATH, the last stronghold of order on Mount ARREAT. You have come to the right place if you intend to defeat Baal, the Lord of Destruction. Baal has laid waste to our mountain and its denizens. His minions continue to attack our town, while Qualkek and his men have proven helpless to stop them. Baal is still out on the mountain looking for something, but I know not what. All of the elders, save Nilathak, sacrificed themselves to place a protective ward around HARROGATH. Some of us here, certainly Nilathak, do not appreciate your presence. We are a proud people, and it is not easy for us to accept aid. I, however, am glad you are here. If you need healing or a potion, please come to me. See Larzak for weapons, armor, and repairs. Nilathak, despite his disposition, may be of some assistance with other wares. Finally, Qualkek, our man-at-arms, leads HARROGATH's remaining forces against Baal. Qualkek and his men have been fighting to break the siege for some time. Where many have failed, you may succeed.
We then head down the stairs to the great castle gate and ponder. It must be hard for Qualkek and the proud barbarians to be rendered helpless against the great evil that has ravaged their proud home. And we prepare to face the destruction Baal has reportedly wrought on the lands. Stepping into the bloody foothills for the first time, we see their brothers strewn about as we curse Baal's name under our breath.
Baal, I'm coming for you.
Soon after stepping out of the confines of the keep, we see the barbarians of the land are fervently fighting off hordes of demons, some of which are the newest monsters created by Baal to serve in his army of destruction, the enslaved. They are stealthy, quick-footed, and unusually tough for their size. Bony knobs protrude from their thick hides, giving them added protection against melee weapons. But Shank's fanatics are numerous, and they are bolstered by wicked demons known as Death Maulers. They are a type of earth demon rumored to dwell deep within the network of subterranean caverns of the Burning Hells. They're well protected by a hard shell bristling with spikes and a thick, gnarled hide. Hulking, tenacious beasts with the strength of 20 men. They can attack at close range with enormous claws or use their special attack to strike from a distance. While we aid the barbarians breaking the line and are peppered with blasts of missiles from above, we spy one of Shank's fabled catapults and put an end to it in a plume of fire before it retreats into a glyph in the ground, as if summoned from the depths of hell below. But we have no time to ponder the catapult's origins, and instead we push forward to free more of the warriors who are being swarmed by packs of bloodthirsty demons, hopefully before it's too late. We then happen upon what seems to have once been a village or outpost, littered with spike-laden weapons of war and long abandoned as the barbarians and their peoples have been forced to retreat to the city or killed where they stand. But if we're ever to face Baal, we must push on and clear a path to rid the keep of Shank and his unending deluge of projectiles bombarding the last bastion for the barbarians' peoples. It's then, as we check on a felled barbarian laying in a pool of blood, we encounter a new foe, a small demon gremlin standing in a pack of its ilk. Teleporting to and fro, we chase down each is no match for a speedy flail's cruel lick on the hide of his grubby green flesh. As we free more men, we realize our numbers too are somewhat bolstered. However, the Death Maulers cleverly take advantage of the bulk of the barbarians, using their ranged attacks of tendrils to burst forth underfoot in deadly spikes from the relative safety of the higher ground. But we protect our stoic brothers by caving in the Maulers' heads one by one. It's then our flail begins to fail, and we realize it's been damaged in the ruckus. Just as we find ourselves at an outpost of some sort with a flag flying overhead, we sense danger is near, and our quest updates confirming as much with one directive: kill Shank, the Overseer. Before we face Shank, we retreat back to the relative safety from the unending elemental bombs lobbed at us and head to HARROGATH to repair our weapon and seek guidance from the townsfolk. To which Marla remarks,
"This may not be very encouraging, but you have fared better than the others who passed through those gates. In regards to Shank the Overseer, remember, a general is nothing without his men."
Uplifting words, and we agree. It's best to deal with the hordes than get swarmed like a fallen brethren on the battlefield. Lazak then questions,
"What's the matter, hero? Questioning your fortitude? I know we are."
Well, they never said gaining the trust of barbarians was easy. However, we then see Nilathak once more, who scoffs.
"What are you still doing here? I thought you were going off to die. Go. Be quick about it."
We're starting to see a pattern here. There's always one cantankerous person per camp. Always one. Not that I expected a necromancer to be a pillar of charm and hospitality, but they could at least try to surprise me once. Maybe. We then look to Cain by his well and hope for wisdom, to which he imparts,
"I understand your reluctance, but now is the time to strike."
One would be a fool to not be wary of these catapults and the Overseer Shank. But before we step through the portal, we'll see Qual Kek once more, who bristles.
"So, you still live. You're either quick or a coward."
I never thought I would miss hell and the river of flame until I'd been privy to the hospitality of barbarians. If you think the ice here is cold, you should experience their demeanor to strangers firsthand. I guess actions do speak louder than words, and with all they've gone through, fair enough. All we're left to do now is find, face, and kill Shank himself. Heading through the town portal and back to the steps of Shank's camp, we are once more swarmed with more enslaved, and atop the stairs lie what can only be one of Baal's most vicious generals, Shank, the Overseer. The large, spiky demon lives up to his reputation, not just in size, but as a ruthless taskmaster, inflicting frenzy on his enslaved minions around him with his whip as he lashes them, turning them into fanatic enslaved, who then, in turn, become enraged and suicidal, exploding upon impact with their kin, rather dying in a ball of flame than live under the yoke of their Overseer. We then face Shank alone, and although formidable, he knows his only gambit to survive is more minions, but like the barbarians, he's somewhat slow on foot thanks to our flail that imparts 50% slow. And as he turns heel, we strip the flesh off his back in a bitter taste of irony before he explodes into a foul mess before us, the nearby catapults to explode. Then, all around us, as if in a last-ditch assault, the grounds are peppered by numerous elements before going still.
HARROGATH is free of your kind, demon.
With Shank fallen, and now well into night, we head back to camp once more, when Marla greets us, saying,
"Oh, at last the siege is ended. You truly are an angel. I thank you."
We've seen angels before, and I don't think we compare, but what a lovely sentiment. Bracing for a less warm greeting, we see Qualkek, who says,
So, you managed to stop the siege. You are more powerful than I gave you credit for. You have rightfully earned my respect.
Well, thank you. I guess actions are admired. I'm beginning to warm to the barbarians, but what of the catapults? We ask Cain, who answers,
Stay a while and listen. Those catapults were like nothing I have ever seen before. You have prevailed against Shank, my friend, but Baal is still far ahead of you.
Agreed, but at least we made a dent in his assault. For now. Speaking of warm, we see the ghoulish Nilathak by his fire and wonder if his demeanor has thawed at all.
Ending the siege does not earn immediate respect, outsider. Respect only comes with sacrifice. Something I'm sure you know nothing of.
Nope. It doesn't seem like he's sacrificing any space around his fire for poor frozen Cain either. Lastly, we then update the blacksmith, Lazuk, who says,
Evening. You're an even greater warrior than I expected. Sorry for underestimating you. As a token of my appreciation, I will craft sockets into an item of your choosing, and from now on, you'll get the best price for all my wares.
Ho ho ho! Looks like this flail is going to get even more deadly at stripping chunks out of demons' backs. With that, we have ended Shank, but as Cain warned, Baal is a far way away. After casting Shank the Overseer back to the abyss and breaking his siege line, the mistrusting townsfolk of HARROGATH have somewhat warmed to us. And as we gather supplies in town, the mercenary leader Qualkek enlists us for aid, saying,
My concerns have turned to my men taken prisoner on the battlefield by Baal's demons. I hate to think what's happened to them. As you journey up the mountain, keep your eyes open for my soldiers and bring them back to me if you can.
It seems Baal's destruction of the barbarians and their land is far-reaching, and the danger has unfortunately just begun. Seeking word of the wayward warriors, we first approach Marla, the diminutive healer, who says,
Qualkek's men have been in prison for some time. They are certain to be tired and weak. You must protect them once you free them.
It's one thing to be killed at the hands of a demon, but to be captured is a fate we do not wish to imagine. It's then Lazuk the blacksmith, looking up from his forge, hails us and says,
I crafted the swords and armor for Qualkek's men. They were like brothers to me. I can't imagine the pain they must be suffering. Save them if you can.
Well, on a bright note, they must have been well armed and done some damage before they were captured, though we can only imagine the state they're in. Rounding the corner by the fire is the last elder of HARROGATH, Nilathak, who questions.
You have proven you can take life, warrior. But can you save it as well?
For all of his brooding, Nilithak seems to care about the fate of his brethren at least. And finally, we see our old friend and Horodric scholar Deckard Cain by his familiar well, who confides.
I know firsthand that captivity is a sad fate for a man. Find them quickly.
Cain, obviously haunted at his stint being held prisoner in a gibbet back in Tristram, afforded a front row view of the demons slaying his friends and loved ones. A fate, we vow, will not befall these proud peoples. With resolution anew, we head out of Harrogath's relative safety once more and begin our search. After entering the bloody foothills and dealing with errant death maulers, we cautiously move through the sadistic Shenk the Overseer's camp, and we see behind his mantle a path leading to the frigid highlands that he must have been guarding. We also see signs of battle on the ground, weapons and armor, perhaps that which Larzik spoke of. If this was his work, then the barbarians surely should be close. It's then we're surrounded by enslaved, bolstered by one Eldricht the Rectifier, though without Shenk the Overseer whipping them into a frenzy. Eldrick and his crew fall to our flail. As then, heading east, we happen upon a slain barbarian, and as we approach his corpse, we're rushed by a group of demon imps and their blue rascal counterparts. As we go to squash their numbers, we realize they're baiting us into their Goliath crush beasts, manned by an imp hopping madly atop its perch, pressing the beast as it spews flames, while its grounded kin hurl their own elemental attacks at us from every which way. It's said that the crushed beasts stampede across the vast plains of hell, oblivious of the eternal conflict that they're often enlisted to fight for. For the assault on Mount ARREAT, Baal had his personal metal workers construct plated armor with riding harnesses on the beasts. Oftentimes guided by imps, these beasts are almost impossible to control. It's thought that the imps don't actually control these beasts, but merely use their height to get a better vantage point to fire from. Either way, it doesn't appear that the siege beast is aware of the passenger. It's then we see that this was an outpost now under imp occupancy. Approaching a small home, we also spy some of the barbarians that were not granted a swift death, as one of their bodies is heavily mutilated and beyond recognition. Moving northeast, we see an even more ominous outpost with red symbols on banners and a headless barbarian swing in a mocking display. Moving around the southeastern side that is girt by a steep fall and mist below, we encounter an imp perched on a tower and rip him down before knocking out the second barricade. As we battle through scores of imps, we cannot help but recall their place on Sanctuary and how it was tied to the arrogance of mages. We were once told a tale that centuries ago, when men were foolish and practiced the demonic magics, it was common to invoke lesser demons and subdue them in order to gain their power. Of course, in their foolishness, mages like the Vajeri tried to bind these demonic creatures. Some say it's how their burning hells found out of the existence of Sanctuary, because the demon, even in death, would return to the burning hells at some point and whisper what they saw into the ears of their dark masters. Fooled by the imp's small stature, sorcerers, of course, underestimated their powers and often summoned them to serve as familiars. Now, once lulled into trusting these clever and conniving demons, the master would find his will subjugated by that of his quote-unquote servant, who would then vivisect the mage and create numerous homunculi from the pieces. In time, these homunculi would grow into other disgusting imps. Our mind back on task as we become a tad too comfortable with kicking imps out of their makeshift abode, we spy a few rogue enslaved and realize all too quickly that they have their own taskmaster, the unique Sharp-Toothed Slayer. As we step in close to contend with the whip-wielding fiend, he sends suicidal ice boars as his comrade Shenk once had to blow up in our faces. We momentarily back up to regain our footing, casting off imps left and right as Sharptooth dances out of harm's way. But as we do so, we see the corner of the cage that seems to be housing the wayward barbarians. Before we can help them, we decide it's too dangerous to release them while Sharptooth lives and make a mad dash to his location. But it's too late. Heavily fatigued by our full plate and packing steel, we cannot muster more than a half jog and somehow can't keep pace. Realizing, despite his size, Sharptooth is enhanced for extra speed, letting minions do his work as he drags us into stray imps or only takes pause momentarily to curse us. He must have caught word of our slowing and hacking of his comrade Shank. We then see his ploy as he pulls us right into the belly of the beast and see he's led us into another camp entirely. Fatigued, we raise our arm and bash his brains into an exploding pile of blue, gelatinous goo. Contending with the horde of imps and heading back to Sharptooth's camp, we finish off his enslaved and stamp out any remaining imps, like rogue embers on a fire that just won't go out. We finally aid the barbarians who beckon to us for help.
Help us!
Kicking down the door of their wooden cage, we open a portal for them back to safety of the HARROGATH's walls as we step through ourselves. Severely battered, fatigued, and with a near-broken flail from Sharptooth's head, we speak to the townsfolk for clues on the other barbarians' whereabouts and rest a spell. We first speak to Larzik, the blacksmith, to repair our weapon, who remembers,
As a kid, I used to play soldier among the barricades on the mountain. There's no easy way through that maze of walls.
Nilithak then thumbs his nose at us.
Did you ever stop to think why these demons are capturing Qualkek's men? Why they are attacking us? Have you considered what Baal wants with the mountain? No, you've not. You have no idea what you are dealing with.
What an odd question. Demons are holding HARROGATH's forces at bay, presumably until Baal has corrupted the Worldstone. Then it will be too late. Troubling that Nilithak seems to know more than he shares. Cain then directs us, saying,
If you are having trouble finding Qualkek's soldiers, you should talk to Mala. She healed those who made it back before. Perhaps she would have some advice.
And before we see Mala, we are stopped by Qualkek, who reworks a tired platitude.
They say that discretion, not procrastination, is the better part of valor.
I wonder if he's ever met Wareve. No matter, Mala then calls to us and instructs.
Soldiers who made it back told of a system of barricades placed among the mountain passes. They said that is where the prisoners are held.
So, we know that barricades are the key. By the time we head back through a portal into the foothills, night has fallen. And as we clear out the camp, we see a strange red portal surrounded by decorative skulls and intuitively know this is a portal to hell, and perhaps we'll investigate it only when the barbarians are safe. However, as a player, we know that this is just a mini instance with a gold chest at the end. As we head further, we cross paths with a few death maulers under an old, leafless tree and are nearly knocked off our feet by their leader, Ibak the Unleashed, with a strong barrage of punches to the face. Caught off guard after dealing with so many tiny imps, we stumble east further, checking on burning bodies, and we realize we've strayed into the ARREAT plateau and must head back to find the last handful of lost barbarians before the night is over. As if hearing our pledge, the dawn breaks and we find our way haphazardly back into a camp just in time to free some of the brothers, with a host of imps awaiting our arrival. As they are funneled safely into the portal, we realize there are still a handful of errant barbarians left. So we head just south of the prison and find the last of the barbarians as we clear out the keep and beckon them to follow us back via portal to HARROGATH.
Let us out!
Follow me.
As we head back, we're greeted by a cheery Mala who hugs us, and we realize she is actually kind of small and cute, like a koala.
You have inspired the people in this town. Not only those you rescued, but those you've helped in other ways as well.
Feeling accomplished, we thank her and head to Larzik, who admits,
Since your arrival, Cain has spoken of your deeds in the southern kingdoms, defeating both Mephisto and Diablo. At first I scoffed at his tales, but I'm finding them more believable with every passing day.
It's a tall order to believe one man and his party could defeat a prime evil, but our job isn't done yet. Nilithak then somewhat cryptically remarks,
So, you've brought the lost sheep home to the shepherd. Well done.
We cannot tell if that's praise couched in self-aggrandizing, but we have had enough of this shepherd for one day. Cain then warmly exclaims,
"You've become a hero to this town, my friend. The shadows have lifted ever since you brought the light to HARROGATH."
We fear that a shadow on the townsfolk's heart is one thing, yet the horrors Baal's forces have wrought on the land are far-reaching, and he must be ever closer to the top of the mountain. Seeing our trepidation, Qualkek makes us an offer, saying,
Thank you for rescuing my men. They have spoken well of your bravery in battle. Perhaps there is hope for us after all. If you wish, you may hire some of my mercenaries that you saved. And please, take this set of runes. I had been saving them for a socketed shield, but I think you'll make better use of them. Be sure to set them in the right order for their fullest effect.
and we gladly take him up on the offer and hire our very own barbarian, the mighty sword-wielding Hengest, a welcome addition versus the forces of hell. We find the dark atrocities that have waylaid HARROGATH from within begin to unfold as Marla meekly approaches us, confiding,
There is a matter which I hesitate to share, but I believe you are the only one who can help me now. Anya, the young alchemist and daughter to one of our slain elders, has been missing for some time. She is a strong, crafty woman with a spirit like no other. One night, just before your arrival, I overheard her and Nilathak arguing about her father's death. The next morning, she was gone. Nilathak has his own tale as to where she went and why. Don't believe him. I fear he's at the root of her disappearance. Please, if you can, search for Anya and bring her back to us. She'll know what to do about Nilathak.
Nilathak. There's something foul at play here. We must make haste and have word with the crafty elder about the disappearance of Anya and their troubling talk. Before we head off, Marla further warns,
When you talk to Nilathak, be careful. There is no telling what he will say or do.
Heeding Marla's advice, we first seek out the blacksmith, Larzik, for more information about the young alchemist Anya, who says,
Anya is an amazing alchemist, especially for her young age. As long as I've known her, she's never let anything stop her from pursuing what she believed in. I wouldn't doubt that Nilathak is involved. Ever since her father died, they haven't gotten along.
Alchemy, although largely foreign to us as a paladin, is no doubt especially useful in these trying times. This makes two townsfolk highly suspicious of HARROGATH's only remaining elder. We then seek out the aging mercenary leader, Qualkek, who says,
Anya's father, Ast, was our wisest elder. He was killed along with the other elders who erected the ward that protects the city. The ward has kept Baal's demons out of HARROGATH, but at a costly sacrifice. Nilathak, on the other hand, was the only elder to escape the demons. Somehow, he alone managed to find sanctuary, while the others died around him. Ever since that day, Nilathak and Anya have been at odds.
No wonder Anya mistrusted him, while her father Aust and his fellow elders committed the greatest sacrifice to ensure HARROGATH's people were safe, at least for a time. The slimy serpent Nilathak somehow slipped out of death's grasp. Was that what has weakened the ward protecting the keep? We inquire with the Herodric scholar Deckard Cain, who postulates,
I would listen to Mala. Nilathak speaks with a venomous tongue, and acts as if the entire weight of this town rests upon his shoulders. Perhaps there is more going on here than we know.
With all roads leading to Nilathak, we brace ourselves for a confrontation. Our sword hand rests gingerly on the hilt of our flail as we attempt to inconspicuously saunter over to the Elder's campfire, or an approximation of a saunter in full metal plate. When in close proximity of the ghoulish Elder, we whisper, What happened with Anya, Nilathak? Much to his dismay.
Anya? Who have you been talking to? Likely it was that meddling Mala. Well, I'll tell you what really happened. Anya came to me for guidance after receiving a vision that her mother and younger brother were trapped in the lands beyond the ice caves. She had decided to go rescue them. I told her that her quest was a foolish one, and that she would be safer staying within the city walls. However, she is a willful girl and would not listen to me. The next morning she was gone. No one is more distraught than I over losing her. However, if you feel the need to be Mala's errand child, I'll try to stop you.
Having spoken to the other villagers and our guard up, we realized two important factors. One, he wouldn't dare try stop us as it would show his treachery, and two, we may very well be walking into a trap. We once more call upon heaven's might and storm out of the tenuous sanctuary of HARROGATH, which Anya's father and his elder brethren afforded us, and begin to search out these ice caves. A few hours pass and we arrive where we last left off, in the frigid highlands at the eastern side entrance to the ARREAT Plateau, which is a broad area said to be marred by both madness and brutality. Barbarian corpses are strewn about amid fresh fires standing in defiance of the cold. Slayers stand ready to defend whatever lies ahead. A variant of the enslaved, the minions carry long scimitars, wicked axes or mace-like weapons, almost as tall as themselves, and swing it in a gigantic downward thrust that tears apart their victims. Sometimes they spawn with a shield, but even if they do not spawn with one, they can block incoming melee attacks with their bare hands if need be. But despite their strength, it isn't enough to stop our joint effort in felling the foul foes. However, the Slayers are not alone. As we inspect a pile of rocks with a corpse strewn across it, it props up in a strange manner when disturbed, and we're waylaid by more Slayers and their suicidal kin as more overseers are present than ever before, frantically whipping the Slayers into a frenzy. The most powerful of the trio, a unique called Gut Eater, blessed with spectral hit, but also cursed, with his last meal being a flail to his malevolent mandible as his putrid corpse explodes. As we probe the mountain further on the eastern side and move up north, we encounter a large glacial pocket guarded by a unique crush beast, girt by imps guarding the entrance to what must be the fabled crystalline passage. As we focus on tackling the scattered imps, the beast Thresh Socket curses our companion Hengest before we realize it's too late. As we turn heel to help our comrade in arms, he's felled. Knocking off Thresh Socket's rider, we send the foul creature back to the abyss before its friends can join it. Wounded, flail damaged and alone, we realize we are now unable to face the crystalline passage and drag ourselves through a town portal for aid and healing. Mala then tends to our wounds and remarks,
If it were anyone else, I would assume her dead. However, Anya is not so easily beaten. I know she must be alive.
This Anya sounds resourceful. Larzik, repairing our flail, informs.
As the daughter of Elder Ost, Anya is the only person, besides Nilathok, who has any real knowledge of Mount ARREAT's secrets. I'd hate to see our fate in the hands of Nilathok alone.
Perhaps Nilathok thought their secrets were best buried in ice. Qualkek then queries,
It seems like everyone feels Nilathok played a part in Anya's disappearance. Why would he do such a thing?
Why indeed? Was it because she blamed him for her father's disappearance? Was it his grief at being labelled a coward where the others had sacrificed themselves? Or was he perhaps telling the truth? Something doesn't add up, but I get the feeling we shall know soon enough.
Nilathok's story does sound reasonable, considering what I've heard about Anya. However, the best lies are often hidden within truth.
Hidden in a cave of ice, perhaps. It's time to thaw Nilathok's cold tongue as he himself incessantly attempts to warm his hide by his fire, and he exclaims,
Look, I've told you. She's dead. If you knew what was good for you, you'd concentrate your efforts on saving HARROGATH, not on lost causes like Anya.
What is good for me? Lost causes. Okay, stay right there, Nilithark. I'll be back. And I assume when I bring in tow, you won't find amusing. As we head back through the town portal, now alone, we hear the eerie call of the tunnel and hesitantly step inside. Inside, we find the passage is more hospitable than expected. With fires lit and foundation in the walls, structurally it actually seems sound. However, with the gore to greet us embedded in the ground, we know too well that this is where our warm welcome ends. It feels like a trap. Before we can finish our thought, we're stampeded by a frenzied group of blood-red minotaurs called Moon Lords. Led by an extra-strong blue bovine, Sin Tongue, we're nearly cleaved in twine by the Goliath swaths as they dual-wield axes and swarm with alarming precision. Reports actually said that they were largely seen aiding Baal during his siege, and all grave news for Anya and our odds of reaching her in one piece. As if awakened by our trepidation, winged succubi known as Stygian harlots rush us. It's said that these are the handmaidens of Andariel herself, powerful demonesses that were thought to have all but been killed off during the battle below Tristram. But Baal has unleashed his personal harem on Mount ARREAT and enlisted their charms to help fulfill his desire to control the mortal realm. Succubi are among the most zealous minions of their master. They possess an incessant craving for blood, especially that of human men, and they take to battle with a passion and joy not often seen in demons. They're fast and mobile in combat, preferring to weaken their prey from a distance with a diabolical curse that causes the afflicted to lose life instead of mana when using their skills. Once their prey is weakened, the succubi move in for the kill, slashing viciously with their long, curved talons. We are also confronted by groups of frozen creepers that move slowly and attack with their claws at relatively long range in comparison to other melee attacks. These ambling ice demons explode into icy balls upon death. Finally, we make our way to the entrance of the frozen river, but are ambushed by 3 champion snowdrifters. Although they are the weakest of Abominable, these champions pack a punch and prove that without a doubt somebody has taken great efforts to thwart our crossing beyond the crystalline passage and into the frozen river. After defeating the ice-like yetis, we head down into the frozen river and see a large cavern with an even larger body of water. More succubi and Abominable move to block our path. Compounding our injuries are the Death Slayers, which attack from the safety of across the river. Curiously, a new enemy meanders our way: Rot Walkers. It seems Baal, unleashing his personal harem, has also pulled out all stops with these Rot Walkers. Legend has it that whenever Baal needs vast numbers of troops to lay siege to any stronghold determined to resist him, he musters the reanimated horde. These undead minions are the twisted souls of dead soldiers whose hearts turned black while still in life, and have now been given a new existence in the service of Baal. Chosen from only the strongest and most fearsome of warriors, the members of the reanimated horde can be distinguished from normal skeletons by their greater size and vicious charging attack. It's best to remember, when you encounter a member of this dark army, kill it and make sure it stays down, as they have a nasty habit of refusing to remain dead. After clearing most of the caverns of the undead multiple times, we sense that Anya is close. However, things are never that easy. Guarding Anya are a pack of frozen abominables with their leader aptly titled Frozenstein. As tons of raw flesh come raining down upon our head, our teeth are rattled and nearly knocking our flail apart again. We try and back up and thirstily gulp healing potions, but just as we think we're gaining the upper hand, Frozenstein finally falls in a wave of frozen death that nearly kills us where we stand, save for our trusty sash that stops us from becoming frozen and smashed to bits by his remaining snowmen. After they have been dealt with, we approach the clearing, and atop it is a black-haired woman on some kind of a ritual pad frozen in ice. This must be Anya, unless a succubi is playing a treacherous trick. We cautiously approach, ready for anything, and she says,
"Hero, Nilithak did this to me. If you've come to help me, My only hope lies with Mala. Please, tell her you've found me.
Nilithok. Her vitals are bad, and she doesn't have long. We race through a town portal in hope of Mala's help to free poor Anya, but first, we're going to confront the reptile known as Nilithok. As we head to his fire, it seems his survival instincts miraculously kicked in the nick of time, and he's nowhere to be seen. We start to ask around town where he's sought refuge, to which Lazik says,
Poor Anya. I should have known Nilithok was a traitor. If you find him alive, kill him for me.
Oh, don't worry. If he's dead, I'll still lay the boot in for you. Qualkek then explains.
The snake has slipped our grasp. While you were gone, Nilithok disappeared. I'll bet Anya knows how to track him down.
Damn it! We vow to make Nilithok pay, but our number one priority is Anya. Perhaps Cain knows how to free her.
Goodness, Anya frozen by that fallen barbarian Nilithok. Perhaps Mala can help you where I cannot.
With no other hope, we see Mala, who says,
So, that snake Nilithok was behind Anya's disappearance, and he trapped her with a freezing curse. Here, take this potion to Anya and give it to her. That should release her.
With a special thawing potion in hand, we head back through the portal and attempt to free Anya, and as we do so, the ice bursts upward in a brilliant plume. Anya then steps back into the portal freed, and we follow her in tow. With Anya a bit cold but safe in the walls of HARROGATH, she thanks us, saying,
You have proven yourself a true hero to me and my people. These are dark times, warrior. I hope you can bring an end to Baal's reign of destruction. Our council of elders is gone, my father Ost among them. The one thing that keeps us from total despair is the promise of vengeance against Baal. Thank you, hero, for rescuing me. To show my personal gratitude, I give you this. I had it custom made for you by Larzik.
Even with after all she's endured, she still finds time to gift us with a boon of a rare class-specific weapon, ours being a shield. We then head to Larzik to repair our wares and thank him for making the shield, making sure that our flail is in pristine condition for the day when it reaches the decrepit coconut that rests atop Nilithok's treacherous shoulders.
I never liked Nilithok, but I never suspected that he'd betray us. I just can't understand how an elder could do such a thing.
Neither can I. Was it a promise of power? Madness, perhaps? We will ask him again. And next time, let our flail lick at his ear first. Qualkek then congratulates us, saying,
Your rescue of Anya was quite an accomplishment.
Cain tells us further of Anya's reputation.
For one so young, Anya commands great respect. Now that she is here, I will make it a point to talk to her about Mount ARREAT. You should do the same.
Funny, her reputation around town sits in stark contrast of Nilithok's. No wonder he wanted her gone. But we then see Mala, who says,
Thank you so much for bringing Anya back to us. I have devised this spell to increase your resistances as a token of my thanks. I know it isn't much, but I hope you find it helpful. Please, go talk to Anya. She has urgent news concerning Nilithok.
Thanking Mala for the increase in resistances and promise, once Anya's healed, we will uncover the rest of Nilithok's treacherous machinations.
Our people believe that the ancients protecting Mount ARREAT have the power to stop Baal. Unfortunately, the Lord of Destruction has shown great power to undermine our faith.
After rescuing the trapped Anya, daughter of the Elder Oust, from the prison of ice at the hands of the betrayer Nilithok, she approaches us and reveals why the one-time Elder of the Barbarians betrayed his people and imprisoned her to keep his secrets, saying,
Nilithok told me he struck a deal with Baal to protect HARROGATH. In exchange for the demon's mercy, the misguided fool plans to give Baal the relic of the ancients, our most holy totem. Doing so will allow Baal to enter Mount ARREAT unchallenged by the ancients. I tried to stop Neelithok, but he imprisoned me in that icy tomb. Neelithok must be stopped before he dooms the whole world. As much as I would love to strangle the life out of him, I'm afraid I haven't the strength. You must go to his lair through this portal I've opened, kill him, and then bring back the relic of the ancients. Stop Neelithok from destroying what we have striven for eons to protect.
It now makes sense why Neelithok bristled at our attempts to thwart Baal since our arrival. Although twisted in his logic, believing he could placate a prime evil, does he really believe Baal's benevolence would extend 1 second past his capturing the Worldstone? Surely he must sense the Lord of Destruction will never stop until Sanctuary is but another twisted plane of hell itself. Whatever his quote-unquote logic is, it's too late. We gaze at the crimson portal before us and know we're going to need guidance before facing the crusty lunatic. As we pass Neelithok's old fire and clench our teeth at the thought of his stupidity, we then see the Horodric scholar Deckard Cain for guidance on this relic of the ancients, saying,
Regretfully, I know very little about this relic. However, if what the others say is true, then Baal must not gain possession of it. Stop Neelithok before all is lost.
Unfortunate, but perhaps the barbarians native to the land know more due to its cultural significance, to which the aging mercenary Qual Kek remarks.
I saw Neelithok leave town just before you found Anya. He must be held accountable for his criminal deeds. Find him and bring him back if you can. Likely he won't come willingly, and you'll be forced to kill him. So be it.
Capturing one as crafty as Neelithok will be a feat indeed. Killing him, well, we know due to whispers of his necromancy, he probably won't be undefended, and we will not have the element of surprise on our hands. Seeking Mala the healer on the steps of her infirmary, she says,
My worst fear has come true. Neelithok has gone mad. You must stop him before he gives the relic to the Lord of Destruction.
It seems, unfortunately, no one knows more of this relic outside the fact we must intercept Neelithok, but we fear it may already be too late. By his forge, Larzik, the armorer, then states,
Now, rescuing Anya, that's good. Talking to me while Neelithok hands over the relic to Baal, that's bad.
I can only imagine the cultural significance and wound it must cause to these proud peoples. With only a sparse lead to go by, we realize we will have to extract all information directly from Neelithok himself, a thought we ponder as we step through the menacing red portal and into the unknown. As soon as we enter, we exclaim,
By the light, what is this place?
Surrounded by darkness and a cliff face with a sheer drop below, we press up into the icy unknown just to be ambushed from the underbrush by prowling undead. As we contend with the first, we see a slew ambling towards us, dragging their claymores, promising of our own undeath to come. After hacking through the masses, we see a large golden arch that seems like it's burst forth through the ground, and we wonder what demonic influences abound as the obelisks close by, adorned with skull, seem unnatural as the archway. Is this too a false reality such as Horizon's own sanctum? The air still feels real here though. Before we can contemplate the magical nature of this place, the undead around us rise again, and we realize we will be swarmed soon by the reanimated horde on our heels if we don't press on. Rushing to shelter, we find what must be Neelithok's temple, and we hope to thin their ranks, but as we step inside, we're met with naught but more danger. Although the undead outside was shambling, we find out they're capable of unleashing a fast, short-range charge attack which greatly increases their damage. Bolstered by their fire-enchanted leader, Pindleskin, we're forced to meet them on their own terms. After Pindleskin's pitiful party is perished, we do not wait for their reawakening and instead step into the door leading to the Halls of Anguish. The halls themselves smell of death and decay, a crude crypt which may have been a hallowed ground previously for fallen warriors. Now Nilithok's personal playpen. We contemplate if these are fallen barbarians killed in battle, gifted to Nilithok and his necrotic ways. Surely he cannot have fallen so far, so fast. The walls, dark and forcing us to feel our way through packs of undead. They, however, are not bound by mortal sight and rush us from the dark corners of the maze like halls. The walls of the halls seem to bear crude art, whether murals to Nilithok or to Baal is unknown, but upon closer inspection we make out what appear to be red eyes, gazing out at us in an almost mocking fashion. As we step through the gore-laden halls of the temple, we finally find the entrance to the Halls of Pain. Inside, we're met by more burly brawlers and a new enemy, the disgusting putrid Defiler. These demons look like floating flayed corpses and live up to their name. It's said these vile and loathsome beasts strike fear into even the black souls of Baal's own troops. Not only can Defilers viciously attack using its razor-sharp forelegs, it reproduces at will by silently hovering near an unwary demon and parasitically infecting the Hellspawn with pain worms. These pain worms immediately travel to the brain of the host monster and grow fat on the vile thoughts of the fiend. If the monster is killed while the worms are gestating, the parasites eat their way through the beast's brain and ultimately burrow out of its skull in search of a new body to inhabit. After what feels like hours of feeling our way through the crypt, we finally happen into a room that we see has the fabled passage to the Halls of Vort, and realize, looking at the wall to the north, the very foundation of this place is largely made of bone and death. With that grisly thought, we step down another level. Seeing a poor barbarian strung up, we cannot help but wonder how Nilithok can rationalize any of this to aid Baal. His intent may have started out as altruistic at some point, but this place reeks of lunacy and death. Realizing we will face the very lunatic at the center of this horrible charade, we step through the portal once more and seek the wisdom of the inhabitants of HARROGATH. Marla then questions,
Nilithok was never the kindest man, but for him to betray the whole world, where shall his soul finally rest?
His soul? Hopefully in the Soul Stone to dance for Baal's amusement until we smash it. Then the Abyss. Larzik then bluntly states,
What's there to talk about? Kill Nilithok.
He's right, talking to him while Nilithok lives is not advisable. Anya then barks,
Nilithok is a traitor. If Baal gets the relic, he shall enter the mountain and wreak havoc there. I cannot believe that Nilithok would give the relic to Baal in any kind of trade. He's truly insane if he believes that he can deal with the Lord of Destruction.
Cain optimistically muses,
Oh, this is a truly horrible turn of events. I know it seems you have always been one step behind, my friend, but look at it this way. You have evil on the run.
A day late and $1 short, my friend. It seems to be our lot in life. Lastly, we see Qual Kek, who says,
My advice is to go in quick and hit hard. Nilithok can't be half as tough as the beasts you faced out there.
I tend to agree. Although there's not much surface area on his bony old behind, there's a lot of knobbly bits for our trusty flail to latch onto. However, I dare say we should not underestimate Nilithok, lest we are then gifted up to Baal along with the relic. Heading back down through the portal to the Hall of Vort, we see 4 hallways spreading from the entry point and are met with flocks of hell temptresses. Though their outer form is of a voluptuous female human with wings and talons, we know that these are Baal's personal mistresses of hell, and he does not want Nilithok to fail. This level is the most disturbing of all. It seems Nilithok is cruelly torturing barbarians for the sheer thrill of it. Surely he's gone mad to bear his brother's corpses littered about proudly in cauldrons of blood for his minions to feast on. While exploring an eastern hall, our quest updates with one directive: kill Nilithok. We sense that Nilithok is close. As we feel his eyes upon us, as if somehow watching us through the very walls like his murals depict, we do not see him first. Instead, his minions flock to us, and as they fall, corpses explode in our face, and we wonder if there's an overseer present as we're pushed to a poor naked woman's body strewn across the wall, and I'm bombarded with flesh and sinew exploding into shards of pain, piercing our armor and every crevice in between. Then we realize this is Nilithok's doing. Atop a dais in the middle of the room, Nilithok promises,
Kill you.
"You first," we counter, and go to rush him as horny harlots hover at us and block our path. Finally, with numbers dwindled, we step in to acquaint his bony carcass with our flail and realize he's not defenseless even without his army. Blasting wafts of arctic blasts, we're all but frozen, our flesh to the bone, save for our enchanted sash that disallows freezing. We thirstily gulp health potions as we hesitantly breach the gap and dance around Nilithok's ice blast, knowing pain is in store for us no matter which way that we attack the situation. After a grueling battle, Nilithok falls and his soul bursts forth from his body in an agonizing scream. And we utter aloud,
Nilithok, what led you to this end?
We then search his corpse, and although it seems Nilithok was well paid in coin from the encounter with Baal, but beside coin there is a strong barbarian helm. However, the relic is nowhere to be found on his person. Frantic, we rush back to HARROGATH with the news, and Mala states,
So the relic is lost. Do not dwell on failures past. It is your future that matters more.
Although she's right, we can only lament the thought of Baal's grubby paws on such a treasure. As if defining our thoughts, Larzik looks up and ponders.
What does Baal plan to do inside Mount ARREAT?
The seed of the world and the eye of Anu live in ARREAT, we know. Nothing good will come of this. We then see Qualkek once more, who says,
Nilithok was a vile demon that shall find his home among the tortured minions of hell. You battled the darkness without fear. I laud your skill and courage.
Although thankful of his kind words, only a fool does not hold a healthy fear of the forces of darkness, and I've seen too many brave men succumb to their misguided self-belief. Cain then warns, saying,
Beware! Baal grows stronger with every passing moment.
And finally, Anya, standing by her portal, once more says,
You have stopped Nilithok, but he didn't have the relic. He must have already given it to Baal. Now Baal will not be tested when he reaches ARREAT's summit. Damn Nilithok. I do thank you for trying, though. Please allow me to honor your courage by magically inscribing your name onto an item of your choosing. It's the least I can do.
We decide to hold off on inscribing our weapon until we get closer to the Lord of Destruction. With Baal unopposed at ARREAT's summit, our encounter is almost upon us. After felling the foul fiend Nilithok, we found he did not possess the relic of the ancients, and as such we seek aid in reaching the summit of Mount ARREAT, to which the mercenary leader Qualkek reveals.
Every time I hear of you, warrior, your deeds become more legendary. But take heed, you are approaching the very summit of Mount ARREAT. I have never dared venture there. It is sacred, our most holy place. The legends say it is guarded by the Ancient Ones, who block the path of all who are unworthy. Your reputation here does not matter. It will be the Ancients who determine your worthiness. Good luck.
So these ancients are what Baal feared to face, making a pact with Nilithok instead. We think it wise if we ourselves find a guide into the hallowed ground, and Qualkek gives us leave to take his man, Wolf, with us. Before we head off, we speak to the healer, Mala, who states,
By reaching the summit, you cease being just a simple warrior. When you come back, you will be far more.
Or far less, depending on how the ancients receive us. The armorer Larzik, standing by his forge, then tells us,
Every night I've prayed to the ancients to bring us peace, and now you must fight them. Who shall I pray to now, warrior?
Fight them? We knew deep down only a test of metal in combat would be a true reflection of worth to a barbarian. Anya the alchemist then states,
You wouldn't have to test yourself against the ancients if it weren't for Neelathok's treachery. He was a fool and deserves to suffer for eternity.
It's true, but he did at least save HARROGATH in the process, and who knows if the ancients were enough to stop the Lord of Destruction. Dark times indeed. Standing by his familiar well, Deckard Cain then echoes our sentiment, saying,
A test of metal is a fitting rite of passage for a barbarian hero.
And with that, we grab our gear and new companion Wolf and head towards the icy summit. As we head inside the mountain's crystalline passage and fighting off frozen creepers, it's said of these ice fiends that not all of Baal's minions need have form. Many of his demons are completely intangible on the mortal plane, so a bulk of Baal's armies are wraith-like in existence. However, this makes attacking helpless mortals impossible. In their case, the ice in the caves of Mount ARREAT is a limitless resource for these demons to take their form from, and hence why they explode into fragments of ice when destroyed. Heading deep into the glacial trail in search of the Ancient's Way, we find a passage to the frozen tundra, and upon emerging, night has fallen. We appear to be on the other side of the mountain, but not all the way over. In a forest clearing, however, before we can gain our bearings fully, a pack of demon imps attack us from the south. Fighting through imps and pressing north, we find hordes of them have ravaged the land and established themselves as the dominant force of the tundra. Errant barbarians continue to fight as we happen upon a disheveled camp, one such barbarian, his body before us, and we see then the fabled entrance to the Ancient's Way. Heading inside the icy cavern, we're greeted by more frozen creepers and the devastating Bonebrow, who brings a posse upon Wolf and I as we are forced to fervently fight off their attacks. Desperate to keep Wolf from falling, we clear the mobs just in time to fall Brow himself. After battling through the caverns, we find respite by a frozen smear of a beast. As we follow the blood smatters, they lead out of the cavern and into the Ancient's Way. The passage snaps shut behind us, and we see we're atop a mountain with a fall below of hundreds of feet. And to the north is a grand entrance to the Worldstone Keep. However, without the relic of the ancients, our way too is barred.
Impossible.
Forced to head back south, near the tundra's entrance, there's a platform of stone, adorned with ancient barbarian carvings and a circle level a few steps up. In the middle sits the inscribed Altar of the Heavens, and surrounding it stands 3 barbarian warriors, no doubt the effigies of the ancients themselves, said to be original Nephilim barbarians. To the right, holding a 2-handed axe to the heavens, is Korlik, the Protector. North of him is Madork, the Guardian, arms outstretched bearing 2 small hatchets, and to the left a sword and shield wielding Talik, the Defender. Knowing once we read the altar there is no going back, we prepare ourselves first by heading back to town momentarily in preparation of the trials to come. Marla then soothes.
Do not doubt yourself. I believe you are worthy to pass through the Ancient's gates, but you must believe as well.
Larzik then warns.
You've walked on the burial grounds of our greatest ancestors. I'm not sure whether I should bow before you or revile you for committing sacrilege. Tread lightly when you walk with gods.
Anya apologizes.
Look, I must apologize. I feel responsible for your current struggle. If I had only stopped Neelathok from giving Baal the relic, you would not have to fight those ghosts.
True, but HARROGATH may not have stood against Baal, and Cain contemplates.
We have come too far to be defeated now, my friend. I have seen you complete many difficult quests. though this may be your greatest trial, it is not beyond your reach.
While Keck then admonishes,
I warned you. The ancients are not like the demons you're accustomed to fighting.
with a heavy mind and a clear heart, we head back to the summit and decide as a sign of respect is in order and stow our weapons before approaching the altar of heaven. It then glows red and otherworldly voices say,
We are the spirits of the Nephilim, the ancient ones. We have been chosen to guard sacred Mount ARREAT, wherein the Worldstone rests.
Few are worthy to stand in its presence.
Fewer still can comprehend its true purpose.
Before you enter, you must defeat us.
Before we can comprehend what is happening, the statues spring to life. Tarlik springs forth and swipes at Wolf with his sword, and we draw our weapons rushing to his aid. Korlik then literally leaps into the fray between us and our goal of aiding Wolf. Trying to rout him from Tarlik spins into a furious whirlwind of steel and death. Bearing the brunt of his dizzying assault, Wolf aids us as best he can, holding off the other barbarian, and we realize that Mardok hurling tomahawks at our kidneys from a safe distance. We toss a potion to Wolf, but we're too slow as the trio move in eerie unison and fall Wolf in a bloody mess, slain where he stood, limp body left in the damp snow. Realizing our only hope is to break up the trio, we back up behind the original entrance of the tundra. Qualkek was correct. We have never dealt with warriors this strategic before, as Korlik leaps 20 foot in the air, bearing his axe down on us in a moment of respite. Now forced into a game of cat and mouse, and using our 50% slow from our flail, we attempt in drawing Korlik out of his leaps, and trying to burn him down while simultaneously avoiding Madork's many axes and the already slow to foot and fast spinning Talik. One-on-one we realize we will fall if we try and face Talik, as his whirlwind is too powerful, and that Madork is much easier prey alone. We fell Madork first, and he dies in a spectacular mist, his effigy now back atop his podium. 1 down, 2 to go. Now both remaining burly barbarians bear down on us, and we try and separate them desperately again. Korlik leaps at us on the platform, breaching the gap once more. However, as he is bleeding heavily, we use this opportunity to open his wound further, and he uses one last burst of energy before falling, leaving us to face Talik in his frenzied glory. We again move in to intercept Talik, using the same open wound technique and retreating back to the platforms as his spin works against him, and his blood loss becomes more profuse, and we see he is bleeding. But he never makes it atop the steps, and 2 perishes in a brilliant light show, and then his soul retreats to its individual pillar. We take a moment and see Wolf downed, not moving, and pay a moment of respect, as without his sacrifice, we would have never gotten this far. We then see our quest is complete and receive 1 full level of XP as a reward, and head back to town to rest the spell and nurse our wounds. The way to the Worldstone open after we pass the test of the proud warriors. Arriving back, Marla then warmly greets us, saying,
I knew the ancients would find you worthy of Mount ARREAT's secrets. Now, stop Baal before he destroys all that is sacred.
All paths lead to destruction. Larzik then says,
The ancients have honored you, and in turn so do we. I have no remaining doubts about you now.
We feel blessed to hold such reverence. Anya then proudly exclaims,
You stand before me a worthy hero, and on you rests the last hope of our people. Bear it well, warrior.
Heavy is the toll indeed. Cain then says,
You have proven yourself to these people. They look to you as their warrior, their champion.
Champion. And the title carries a certain weight with it. And with that, we see Qualkek once more, who questions,
Besting the ancients in battle is a mighty feat indeed. I hope this means you're ready to battle Baal.
So do we, Qualkek. So do we. The quest is complete, and we gain the trust of the ancients and clear a path to Baal and the Worldstone.
You are a worthy hero. We augment your skill and grant you entry to the interior of Mount ARREAT, wherein lies the Worldstone.
Beware, you will not be alone. Baal, the Lord of Destruction, is already inside.
The Archangel Tyrael has always been our benefactor, but even he cannot help us now. For Baal blocks Tyrael's spiritual presence from entering the chamber of the Worldstone. Only you, mortal, have the power to defeat Baal now. Baal threatens the Worldstone, and through it, the mortal realm itself. You must stop him before he gains full control over the sacred stone. With it under his control, Baal could shatter the boundaries between this world and the burning hells, thus allowing the hordes of the primevals to pour forth into the mortal realm like an unstoppable tide. If you are weak, the world as you know it could be lost forever. You must not fail.
After defeating the Ancients, our path to Baal in Mount ARREAT is now open, the Lord of Destruction promising to tear down the boundary between Sanctuary and the burning hells, with the Worldstone now firmly in his grasp. And so we call in every favor of the peoples we have met on our journey thus far, as we will need their combined strength to defeat the final primeval. Retracing our original steps, before we even headed to the Pandemonium Fortress, we travelled west back through the jungle lands of Kurast, and via caravan through the desert jewel known as Lutgo Lane, back to where our journey began, the rogue encampment where the Dark Wanderer had wrought so much destruction before him. There we see Chazi the blacksmith, who, after we ourselves had felled the demonic blacksmith in the rogue monastery, promised to enhance one of our items, in quiet desperation for any edge we can get in the battle to come. As such, we call in the favor and see our newest companion, Heremod's helm imbued with a stat burn. After once again saying our goodbyes and making haste back to HARROGATH, we see Larzik to receive our previously promised socketing of our shield. And now, with at least 3 sockets spare, we will use the runes gifted to us by the mercenary leader Qual Kek, with the Ral or Tal runes respectively, creating the item the Ancient's Pledge, boasting largely enhanced defense and high elemental resistance across the board, and 10% going to mana. It's as if we are now protected by the Ancients themselves, with our weapons and items imbued with strength anew thanks to the peoples we aided during our journey. We're as ready as we will ever be to face the Lord of Destruction. We again reclimb atop Mount ARREAT and make our way back to the entrance of the Worldstone Keep, arguably the most sacred ground on Sanctuary, now defiled by Baal and his minions. Bracing ourselves for what lies ahead, we tepidly step inside. As we enter the keep, we see it has an intricate pattern on the floor, and the walls are adorned with barbarian writings in similar fashion to the inscribed pillars outside, and there is naught to hear but eerie, unnerving silence, leaving no clue to the destruction wrought, save sparse gore etched in the surroundings. A deceased barbarian, loosely bound to a makeshift crucifix, his corpse falls limply to the floor as we free him. As we head north, vigilant, it's there we're met with vile witches, hand-picked from Baal's harem, hurling torrents of what appears to be their unholy blood magic, and we contend with their brethren, the defiled corpses of warriors fallen and resurrected, and the fetid defilers who bore their own sickly maggot-like children into the brains of the undead demons to rise anew in a putrid maggot form. As there was nothing but death for us in the northwest end, we about-face and head southwest until we find more defilers guarding a bridge across an abyss. Felling the foul fiends, we head across the bridge and stop in wonderment. Are these fragments of the Worldstone? They burst forth through the ground as if their power is unable to be contained by man, thrumming with a resonance and energy that is palpable in the air. In awe of the aura of the stone, we move to touch the nearest and are electrocuted by a bolt of wicked lightning that licks through our conductive armor. In agony, we are haunted by a disembodied laugh that is unmistakably of a prime evil. Baal is watching our every move and taunting us to boot. We draw in a deep breath and ready ourselves, moving swift of foot to the entrance to the second floor of the Worldstone chamber. 1 down, 3 to go. As we move through the second floor, we find greater hellspawns marring our path. Instead of sickly succubi, Baal opts to send forth his more brutish minions, as their explosive counterparts attempt to bar our path through sheer explosive destruction. After felling waves of the knobbly and nefarious nuisances, we happen across a now familiar bridge girt with shards of protruding Worldstone and access to the 3rd floor below. It's there we're greeted by a behemoth bovine overlord, Baal clearly intensifying the threat against us as we fight them off. Defilers burrow their spawn into them again, and imps encircle us, attempting to hurl magicka at us while we fend off the hulking heathens. Once again we are met with a final familiar bridge, and pause momentarily before stepping into the throne of destruction, only again to be assaulted by Baal as clouds of poison fill our lungs and we hear his disembodied laugh again. As soon as we enter the throne's level, all bets are off. The crimson red of the Worldstone illuminates the room, filling our vision like blood, and we are granted no respite, as we're viciously assaulted by a group of Death Lords. Stygian furies hurl their magic balls of death. As we clear the level, we enter a great room to the northeast, marked by a large entrance and pathway to what we assume must be the throne. Any remaining Death Lords and succubi rush to meet us. The source of light, the Worldstone fragments, line the sides of the room that now pulses with wicked power. As we dodge the last of the demon's magic missiles and move to the room's end, we see perched atop the platform Baal himself, wickedly watching our assault with undue glee. He seems to be protected somehow by energy swirling about his four-legged demonic form as he lets loose a familiar laugh as our eyes meet the deformed face of Tal Rasha, now worn like a mask made of flesh that someone stretched across their knee. Before we can move, he lets loose a burst of energy that spawns several fallen onto the ground. Their chieftain, Kalenzo, the Annihilator, is the leader of the band of Warped Ones. There are a few lore facts about this interesting encounter that should be noted, which are, this seems to be the same Kalenzo that is said to be a deity to the Fallen, and sometimes they'll shout its name in battle. Kalenzo is possibly named after Karen Kalenzo, a longtime Blizzard employee and friend of Blizzard creator David Brevik. As each encounter here marks each act of Diablo 2, the Fallen are a staple of Act 1. After felling the Fallen, Baal, amused, spawns the next wave of minions. Arkmel the Cursed, representing Act 2, a super unique Horodrim Ancient, and leads the second wave, which consists of Unravelers and Skeleton Mages, and uses a recolored model of Radamant. As we contend with waves of noxious gas, we become too concerned with Arkmel's minions, and our companion, Heremod, pays dearly for our mistake. It's then a third wave of council members appears, summoned by Baal, and they in turn summon a pack of Flame Hydra, forcing us to retreat and find shelter, lest we be turned to ash on the spot. We then see their leader, Bartok the Bloody, and accompanied by numerous council members. Curiously, Bartok too is steeped in lore. In legend, there was a man named Bartok who was once the Warlord of Blood, a Vigerai mage who was in rivalry with his brother, Horizon. However, if they are the same character, it's not certain, and more so highly unlikely. They both seem to be the same character because they share the same name and same blood reference, but this Bartok could be just a tribute to the Warlord of Blood, as Bartok himself needed his famous armor to be resurrected, and it was destroyed by Horizon in events prior. After defeating Bartek and his crooked council, Baal spawns Act 4's Venom Lords, which rush at us at such a ferocious speed we leap backwards and are pressed out of the throne room itself. Famous for encircling and killing foes, we wisely keep our back clear as their leader, the super unique Vanta the Unholy, uses his enhanced speed to press us against a wall. We then believe we're doomed as they breathe fire in unison. However, we are saved by our shield, the Ancient's Pledge, resisting their fire attacks long enough to bludgeon the fiends one by one. It's only then that Baal calls his trump card, said to be his personal pets to represent the destruction of Act 5, the Minions of Destruction. They're led by Lister the Tormentor, who can almost always be seen with at least 2 minions on either side waiting for his command. When they attack and we are hit, it feels like we've been hit by 20 fists and not just 4. These beasts are said to like to snap the neck of their prey with a single strike, dragging them off to eat for a future meal. They can, unlike other monsters, regenerate their health, and are therefore one of the most deadly enemies to fight against, and possibly the most dangerous, save for bosses, in the entire game. After slogging our way through the minions, beaten heavily, our weapon nearly broken, Baal still laughs mockingly atop his dais and turns his back to us as if satisfied with the show and ambles into the Worldstone chamber. Knowing the end is close and thoroughly exhausted, we decide it wise to consult with the people of HARROGATH for perhaps a final time, to which the healer Mala says,
"You knew it would eventually come down to this. Kill Baal. Finish the game."
Pretending Mala didn't just break the fourth wall during the epic culmination of the RPG, we reply, all games, unfortunately, come to an end. We then see Larzik, the armorer by his forge, who admits,
I may be just an armorer, but I know this. Baal plans to destroy the world with the secrets contained in that mountain. It doesn't take a genius to know he has to be stopped.
He's right, destruction is said to be the most direct and brash of the evils to contend with, but underestimate Baal we shall not. Anya the alchemist then states,
Baal has blocked Tyrael from entering the Worldstone chamber? This truly has become a battle against hell. Whether or not it was the heavens' decree, this is your fight now, your destiny.
Dire tidings indeed, when justice itself is expunged from Baal's seat of power so casually. This is a testament to the power of the Worldstone and Baal's own corruption. Deckard Cain, the Horodric scholar, standing by his familiar well, solemnly imparts,
The angel Tyrael has watched over the guardians of ARREAT throughout history. I do not believe that Baal and Tyrael have come to fight over a paltry few souls. They are here to settle a conflict as old as time itself. Remember this. Baal once possessed Tal Rasha, one of the most powerful of the ancient Horodrim. Your battles with Mephisto and Diablo will pale in comparison to your battle with Baal, the Lord of Destruction, aided by Tal Rasha's knowledge. The mountain itself will tremble when you clash.
We have seen Tal Rasha's face darkly smattered upon Baal's own. We feel for Cain, knowing one of his Horodric brothers is but a pawn to Baal's plans. How many more righteous must be sacrificed themselves to their wicked ways? We shudder at the thought of becoming but another tool of destruction. Finally, we then see Qualkek, the greying mercenary leader who warns,
You have ventured to a place beyond legend. You rush to face an evil few can even imagine. Be careful, my friend, and may the light watch over you.
May the light watch over us all. Although Qualkek offers the aid of more of his men, we cannot bring ourselves to take his aid of another companion, just to see them fall and decide at best we face Baal alone. As we enter the swirling energies leading to the Worldstone chamber, once inside, we're taken aback by the sight of the Worldstone itself and exclaim,
The Worldstone. Praise the light.
Before we can even finish our thought, festering appendages burst forth from the ground, whipping at us as we draw near. Forced to contend with the fleshy tendrils, we feel somehow slowed. We've been cursed by Baal, and our defenses drop significantly. Breaking into a sprint away from the many appendages, we move towards the source of the power, the Worldstone in the center of the room, and Baal promises.
My brothers will not have died in vain.
Once inside, Baal spews forth a fiery mana rift as a show of his fury, followed by hoarfrost, a blue V-shaped blast, sending a chilling wave that slows us down and knocks us. As we move to re-engage, it seems Baal has somehow cloned himself. We're seeing double. Now 2 Lords of Destruction to contend with. We attack what we assume is the clone and are assaulted by various blasts, including the powerful Incineration Nova. Baal Prime, it seems, looking for better footing for an attack, teleports to a vantage point, and we realize the only way we will survive this initial volley is if we too reposition, putting the pillar firmly between us and Baal, while trying to still attack his doppelganger and attempting to stay cognizant of our range lest we are licked at the putrid fingers of his appendages, simultaneously dodging attacks from him swiping at us overhead. We finally destroy Baal's vile effigy as it shrinks back into a blue shockwave of nothingness. We then rush Baal, who echoes his earlier sentiment, and realize he's cloned himself again, enjoying our confusion immensely as we cannot tell them apart. However, we quickly identify and attack his dark mirror image once more, the clues to his true identity being in different skewed nameplates for his clones. However, as Baal dances around the appendages he spawns, delighting in our struggles to survive, his barrage of attacks continue. With his second clone down, we square up to the Lord of Destruction and see he is no longer toying with us. And then we remember, when we battled Diablo, he forced us to relive our greatest fear. Mephisto reveled in our hatred, forcing us to overcome our rage and leverage the light to defeat him. Yet Baal, wearing a menacing grin and the grotesque visage of Tal Rasha, his eyes only burn red. There is no lesson in his countenance, no ruses nor goading, just a demon hell-bent on destruction. And the fiery malice of 1,000 suns burn bright in his eyes as we know he intends to burn the world to a cinder if he's not defeated, and we resolve to defeat him lest the world fall at his feet. We then realize we need to distract Baal instead and bolt for the source of his corruption, the Worldstone that he covets. There it sits in all its awe-inspiring glory, tainted by evil itself. Baal, unsure of our plan, yet covetous of his power source, takes the bait. Blasting us with hoarfrost, he backs himself up to the edge of the T-shaped platform and attempts to knock us back with hoarfrost once again, hoping we'll fall over the edge, as if baiting us into being thrown into the depths below. However, it seems the light somehow guides us, plants our feet firm, and we feel calm. Strangely, as might and zeal explode from us into a blur of attacks so potent, we see Baal bleed dark red globs of precious ichor until we burst our flail directly through his stomach and into his putrid guts as he keels over and screams an unholy sound, spewing up his rotting essence. Looking as if he will fall off the platform, props on the steps, as souls explode from inside their unholy prison, we see his own soul flees from the shard of destruction and back into the black abyss where it belongs. And we say,
"You shall no longer taint this mortal realm."
Hello.
It's then Tyrael, free to enter the chamber as it begins to flake and crumble around us. It seems, unfortunately, Baal's damage is already far-reaching. We turn to Tyrael and he tells us,
I am impressed, mortal. You have overcome the greatest challenge this world has ever faced and defeated the last of the primevals. However, we are too late to save the Worldstone. Baal's destructive touch has corrupted it completely. Given enough time, the Worldstone's energies will drain away, and the barriers between the worlds will shatter. The powers of hell will flood into this sanctuary and eradicate your people and everything you've labored to build. Therefore, I must destroy the corrupted Worldstone before the powers of hell take root.
This act will change your world forever, with consequences even I cannot foresee. However, it is the only way to ensure mankind's survival. Go now, mortal. I have opened a portal that will lead you to safety. May the eternal light shine upon you and your descendants for what you've done this day. The continued survival of mankind is your legacy. Above all else, you have earned a rest from this endless battle.
Damn Baal to the hells, deciding to seek our confidant's advice once more. Before Tyrael commits this final selfless act, we portal to HARROGATH a final time. Marla, seeing our return, rushes to us and says,
If Tyrael says the Worldstone must be destroyed, then it must. We cannot let Baal's corruption prevail. The world will change, true, but who is to say it isn't for the better?
We tell her, we honestly don't know, but trust in the heavens we must, as we're about to find out regardless. Larzik then says,
The ancients themselves will envy our songs about you. Please, don't forget about us. Farewell, my friend.
Never, my friend. Although a good deed is its own reward. Hopefully in the songs, don't feel obliged to stick to the facts. Feel free to make us incredibly tall and make sure to add that Nilithark cried before we even hit him. We then see Anya, the fiery alchemist, who praises.
You have done the impossible, hero. Your defeat of the last of the three primevals is a great victory for the light. Strange that you say that the Worldstone must be destroyed. The prophecies said nothing about that. Perhaps all we have fought for will be lost. Or perhaps we'll never need fight again.
Prophecy? We don't know if anything's set in stone anymore. Especially as the Worldstone itself is about to shatter into a million pieces. It's then our old friend, Deckard Cain, congratulates us.
I knew in time you would defeat Baal. You have done everything you set out to do, my friend. Ever since you rescued me from Tristram, I have believed in you. It has been a supreme honor to aid you along the way. So, the Worldstone was corrupted by Baal, and now Tyrael must destroy it. Worry not. Through whatever lies ahead, I have faith that the light will guide us both. Go now, back to the Worldstone chamber, and enter the portal Tyrael has opened for you.
We smile at Cain and hold back a sudden, sullen feeling that we may not get to see his old cheery face again. He's been the only familiar feeling like home we've had in many moons, and glad to call him friend. Lastly, we see the mercenary, Qualkek, who worries.
The destruction of the Worldstone does not bode well for our world, but I'll try not to worry. After all, we have warriors like you fighting for us, and for the light. Farewell.
We've still got a few battles left in us. Unfortunately, the conflict Tyrael mentions seems eternal. Worries aside, it seems we must accept Tyrael's decision, and so we head back to the Worldstone chamber. It's there we look up at Tyrael's blackened and featureless face once more. Usually his energy seems unknowable, yet somehow foreboding for an angel. Now it feels almost sad, as if the Archangel of Justice is bound to his duty in ways we can hardly comprehend. We thank Tyrael, although unsure whether angels feel as mortals do. Although we know we're mistaken, we almost sense what we believe registered as a smile, and he waves us into the red portal as we're whisked away to safety. Tyrael, though, stays, as he has one duty left to do. Destroy the reality-altering artifact known as the Worldstone. The consequences are unknown, but that is a story for another time. Where the hell am I? Cows? Cows on... Get out of here. Great teleporting skills, Tyrael. This isn't the rogue encampment. Oh my god, there's so many of them. Are they freaking halberds? Why are they working on their back feet? Tyrael! Tyrael! Oh god, there's so many. No! Oh my god! Kane! Anybody! Help! God damn it! Help!
Moo 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 moo. Moo 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 moo.
I think I'm fine, as long as Kane doesn't start rapping.
Moo.
God damn it.
My name's Deckard Cain, and I come from Tristram. If you're looking for Diablo, then you just missed him. If you find old Griswold, then you can take him down, but you'll get no reward till you come back to town.